All right, guys, so we're going to start off versus a standing opponent. So this is what I find people have the most trouble with, setting up ankle locks. Naturally, when someone's standing, they have weight on 2 feet. And usually there's a lot of weight on one of those feet. And it becomes very, very difficult for us to ankle lock someone standing. It's pretty much impossible. So we're going to use a position called Y guard. This is a position I started using, and it's very, very good for unweighting our partner's legs. And when they're standing, it's very, very good for getting control of 2 legs. If we get control of 2 legs, we can either force their hands to the mat or knock their hips on the mat. Then it becomes easy to start to finish. So we're going to start off when my partner is in a standing outside option. So we did talk about before why I like this position. When he's standing, I'm just going to cover how to lock my legs, but this is a robust position, meaning it's not easy for him to clear this if I'm doing the right thing. So I'm always maintaining my Achilles grip. Right? When I take the Achilles grip, I kind of just like make a fist and put my fist inside of his calf, and then my hips come up and my hips kind of reinforce my fist, just like this right here. So if he goes for any back takes or anything like that, as long as I maintain this grip, I'm in a pretty safe position. In terms of my legs, I'm going to lift my hips up so the back of my knee starts to cover his like inner quad / like hamstring position. And then I'm going to cross my legs. I'm not locking ankle to ankle, but I'm not locking a full triangle. I'm kind of going halfway in between, and I'm turning my knees at him. Now I want to off balance him. I cannot ankle lock him here. If I try to lock my hands, his leg is way too deep. And a big mistake I see people make is they put a butterfly hook in right here. So if he doesn't do anything, I could certainly use this and unweight the leg. The problem with this is if he's good and knows what he's doing, he's going to take small steps back with his right leg until his leg gets very, very heavy, and I'm going to be stuck, and I'm not going to be able to off balance him right here. So we're not going to use the butterfly hook yet. We're going to use the Y guard to get control of my partner's second leg. So I have my Achilles grip. My inside or my outside leg is going to unlock. And again, I'm keeping this shallow to not get inverted heel hook, and I pass my knee to the inside. So if you see, my right hook is at his far hip, and my left hook is almost around his back. And my kind of knees are pinched together. So when he goes to put pressure into me right here, it's like it's impossible for him. I have such a good ability to keep him away from me. And my whole goal in this position, especially when he's standing, is to get the second leg. Once I get the second leg, I'm at a good spot. So we're here, knee passes inside. I do a little hip up to get him going backwards. Then I pull my knees to my chest, and now I have this second leg control, just like this. When I grab this, I generally don't scoop it so much. It's easy for him to step out. I kind of grab and I pull my elbow in front of his shin, like this. So now when he tries to step out or circle his toes out, I can pinch my elbow to my ribs, and it's difficult. If I take a deep Achilles, sometimes he can point his toes and just step his leg out of this. Just step back. So I lift my hips up, and I pull my knees, and I get this grip where my elbow is covering his shin. Now with this, I have 2 options. I can either knock him straight back, or I can kick him forward and put his hands on the mat. Once the hands are on the mat or knocked back, we're in a position to finish. This gives me a great ability to unweight his legs. His weight's on his hands. I have both of his legs controlled. If he tries to stand and base right now, I can play between knocking him forwards, or if he stands up, I can knock him backwards. This will give us various options in terms of how we're going to set this finish up. So, the main goal of this position is to get the second leg. Once I get the second leg, mission accomplished, I'm moving to my finishes. Not that I can't put the butterfly hook in, but if he takes just a few steps back with this leg becomes extremely heavy. And sure, I can try to pull myself back in and set up different options, but it's just generally significantly more difficult. So, hips come up, I use this Y guard. Knee comes inside, I'm hooking the far butt, hamstring, hips up, I pull my knees to my chest, and I get underneath him. Now, I off balance him forward to force the hands on the mat. This leg is very shallow, so if he goes for that inverted on that top leg, I'm using my inside knee to push. He should not be able to catch my heel here. When you guys are drilling this, play with your partner, make it so that your foot is just hooking on their hip, so there's no inverted heel hook. And then we're going to get into actually finishing this position. All right, so this is our Y guard. This is going to be a big staple in this instructional. I feel this is a very, very strong position for setting up the ankle lock. All right, guys, we covered the Y guard position, getting our partner's hands on the mat is the first option. and we're gonna go right into our finish. So that gives us a great opportunity to go right into a belly up finish. Because my partner's weight is on his hands, I can unweight that leg very effectively and then go right into my finish position. So from the Y guard position, I'm starting my outside ashi. So I have my Achilles grip, I go to my Y guard, hips come up, I pull my knees to my chest, I get control of the second leg. Once I get his hands on the mat, I want to climb his second Achilles really as kind of deep as I can. Like this. So I have like almost like two hands. I'm not going to lock my hands, but I'm controlling both legs pretty effectively. This foot sometimes, initially it's here, sometimes I'll get it on the stomach so I can really kind of push him away like this. Now, whichever leg I'm going to go for, I'm going to put my butterfly hook in on that leg. So in this case, I'm going to go for Zane's right leg. So I'm going to put my butterfly hook in. And while keeping both legs, I'm going to start to unweight his leg and get his foot in that position. So I wouldn't let go of the leg when I do it, but I'm getting the foot where it's kind of right in my floating rib, like we discussed before. So I'm elbow deep, or if I'm going more shallow with the other finish we discussed, and whichever finish you guys feel better with. Now, once I have the foot in the right position, I'm going to immediately go to connect my hands and go right into my finish, like this. So what I'm doing is, I'm not giving my partner any time to put weight into that foot. If I just go to lock my hands prematurely, Zane can drive back into me, put weight in the foot, and then he's going to start to defend. So when we do this, we go to our Y guard position. I hip up, I pull my knees to my chest, I get his hands on the mat. Now again, I can put the foot on the stomach if I want, but I put my butterfly hook and I unweight the leg, so I kind of have that foot very shallow. Now, I get it in the optimal position, and last second, I let go, and I go right into my finish. If I feel he's starting to rotate, of course, I can go all the way belly down, like we discussed before, and then finishing that way. Whichever finish we're doing, whether we're doing the twisting finish with the butterfly hook, or we're pulling the foot off of the shin. So I'm doing this to unweight his leg, getting that foot in the perfect position, and then last second, I connect my hands. So there's very, very little time for him to come back into me and put weight into his foot and defend. So we just did our Y guard to our kind of belly up finish. Now we can actually roll the other direction and go into a belly down finish. In my opinion, this is probably the tightest option we can do. I end up in a really, really good position, and it's very, very hard for my partner to defend when we get here. So we're going to do the same exact movement we did prior. We do our Y guard position. I'm starting my outside ashi. My knee comes to the inside. I'm off balance. I pull my knees to my chest like this. I get his hands all the way on the mat. Now, butterfly hook goes in. I unweight the leg, and I get this in the right position. See how this puts off the mat? My elbow is almost tucked inside my knee. I can use that to get that foot in that position that I need. Now, when I go to finish, as opposed to going this way, which is what I did before, I have this, which is very good. I'm going to go the other way. So I'm going to go the other direction. I roll over the same side shoulder that has the leg controlled. So I roll this way. As I roll, I lock my hands, my head comes out, and we end up in this belly down position. I still have the butterfly hook in. When I finish, I'm widening the knees. And in this case, because I have the deep grip, I'm pulling the foot off the body. And when I finish this, I have a lot of room to drop my hips, and I can get a lot of power going into it because I have my body weight going into the leg. So when we do this, we're rolling the opposite direction. So hips up, knee comes inside, off balance. See how I pull myself underneath, force the hands on the mat, butterfly hook comes in. I shorten the leg. I'm not letting go of this until I'm in a position to actually roll. So I hold the leg, now I roll over that shoulder, and I end up in this position. In this case, my foot came out. That's totally fine. I widen the knees, I pull the foot off the body, or I can do a twisting movement and finish. So last time. So hip up. I get that second leg controlled. Getting the hands on the mat. Now I go the opposite direction. I'm looking over that shoulder. Now I'm in a good position. Connect my hands. Then we finish. When you guys get here, you're going to feel you have a lot of power. You're finishing your part, right? So as opposed to going belly up, we go belly down, rolling over the opposite shoulder and finishing the ankle lock. All right, so we covered knocking our partner forward from the Y guard, forcing the hands on the mat. There are times though, where if I can't get the hands on the mat, I can knock my partner straight back, and then we will finish from a position with them on their hips versus them with the weight on the hands. So here's the identical setup. We're getting to our Y guard position, hips up. I don't balance him, boom. Now I feel like I can't kick him forward, so when this happens, I just bow my knees out and I knock the knee backwards. As soon as we land in this position, I still have my right knee inside. I'm just gonna scoot away, put my butterfly hook in it, and I leave my leg in this outside position right here. Now I'm in a good position to shorten the leg. We get into our finish, whether it's the shallow grip or the deep grip, whatever you guys feel more comfortable with. In this case, because I don't have like a super tight connection to begin with, I usually go to the shallow grip when we land. Just come back up. So the deep grip I feel is a little bit harder to set in super deep. So when I knock him down right here, I kick the leg out. I usually go right to the shallow grip and try to connect my hands right away. Now we can finish chest up by rotating the knee inwards and then going this way. In this particular scenario, because he's on a hip, a lot of times he can start to move his butt back to his right and start to kill my angle for finishing this. You can stand there. Just rotate all the way. You can start to kill my angle for finishing. So when this happens, my butterfly hook comes out, we heist up, and we go to this belly down position right here. I'm pushing his knee into the mat. I drive my hips in, and we finish this belly down option. So again, this is kind of all happening in a single movement. I'm knocking him down, I'm starting to finish, and when he rotates, because I have this ankle lock grip, I can just follow him very, very effectively without risk of losing position. So here, I go to my Y guard, I off balance him, I knock Zane backwards, just like this. Now right away, butterfly hook comes in, I slide right into position. Either finishing belly up, or he starts to rotate his leg all the way through. And what people do, and just so I'm gonna explain this a little bit more, what people are trying to do, he's trying to get his laces into my back like this. This is what messes this position up the most. So if you can get the laces into the back, I really start to lose effectiveness to this position, and I kind of realign him in that belly down position. And we're going to talk about this more as one of the common defenses, but if he can kind of internally rotate his knee against my grip, see how his heel is disconnected from my ribs? I lose a lot of pressure. This is a great time to force him belly down and then go into my finish. And we will discuss there are secondary options, follow-ups when we can't do that, but that is one of the main things my partner is going to do. We're going to cover that a little bit more in the DVD of instructional. But again, to reiterate what we just did, Y guard, can't knock him forwards, knock him backwards, and then we go into our belly up or belly down finish, depending on how he's reacting. All right, so we just covered a few options where we went into a belly down finish. Specifically a belly down finish, like wedging his knee on the mat to apply some pressure. So there are situations here where we can switch to an Aoki lock finish. So if you guys watched ADCC 2022, Matej Szczecinski, who's a big influence on me in coming up with this system, finished William Tackett with this, which is I think the only time William's ever been leg lock. So it's a very effective position. But basically when we're in this belly down position, just get off the knee. Regardless of how we're setting this up, we discussed when my partner starts to rotate, going to this belly down position right here. And sometimes in this position, you can see or feel there's an opportunity when you can get his heel right on your stomach. So when we're doing an Aoki lock, we want the heel, just come back up for a second. We want the heel right on our stomach. So as opposed to being in the Achilles grip position, I still have the Achilles grip, but the heel is a little bit deeper. I'm applying an inverted heel hook effect with this grip. I know we talked about doing that with the grip we did before, but I get a very strong rotation of the heel going inwards. So when we're going belly down, right here, and I switch to this position, if I ever feel there's an opportunity for me to pop that heel out, I can then do an Aoki lock finish. And this is very, very strong, in this position because I'm wedging his knee in the mat. So when I create that turning effect on the heel, this knee can't move because it's going to the ground. It's not going to my hips or my knees, which could have some slack. I create a lot of pressure when we do this. So anytime we're in this belly down position, and we see there's an opportunity to pop that heel out, we can always go into that, lock our legs, and then go to the finish. And this is a really, really effective, pretty devastating finish. So it can happen in multiple scenarios. We did our Y guard where we force our partner belly down, got his hands on the mat, and then finish this way. As I do this, if I see an opportunity as I'm doing this to get that heel all the way on the stomach, I get a really strong finish in that position. So this is something that I think is an opportunistic move, whereas depending on how he's moving, it might not always be available. But when you feel that heel start to slip out, you should definitely be going to this, especially in the belly down position. It's not that we can't do it when he's chest up, we'll cover that, but especially belly down, that heel can pop out, you're gonna get a really strong finish. All right, guys, so we covered using Y guard versus a standing opponent. Really effective for getting our partner's weight on their hands or knocking them backwards and getting control of that secondary leg, that being the main option. There's a lot of times we'll encounter someone who's on a knee as well. So when someone's on a knee, he doesn't have as much weight on this leg. Because he's on this knee, there's always going to be more weight on his outside leg for the most part. So this is a good situation for me to use my butterfly hook when I do this. So when I'm here, Zane's foot is still on the mat right here. So I have to get my hips out to the side where I set this up. And there are varying degrees of how much pressure he'll be putting on me here. And there's definitely times where putting this butterfly hook in is going to not be available, and we're going to cover what we can do there. So what I'm going to do is, very important, I'm hooking on his hip like this. There is not a threat of an inverted heel hook when I do this. If I leave my leg dangling, I'm going to get inverted heel hook. And it absolutely takes practice to get good at avoiding this. But once you like really understand this, you're not going to get caught in this position anymore. And basically, I unlock my legs, I shrimp out, and I put my butterfly hook in right here. So we end up in the same position we discussed. So I have my Achilles grip. Now I can shuck the leg away and go into either of my finishes, either the deep grip or the shallow grip. And this is the same finish we covered before. This is our basic belly up finish. And this is not much different than what we did, but this is a good time to use a butterfly hook, is when my partner is on a knee. This is the first thing I look for right here. If I can get my hips out, put the butterfly hook in, great. Sometimes I might not even need to put my foot on the mat. If I could shorten the leg enough, put my hook in, we go right into our finish. It's a very, very easy finish. If he puts weight back into me and I'm unsuccessful in finishing this, I just go back to outside ashi. Really easy. You can attempt this as many times as you want. There's not really a big risk of losing position. Versus if I was in like an X guard, I'm trying for my ankle lock. He puts weight into me, stands up, back steps. Go ahead and back steps in. Now all of a sudden I lost position. But with this, we're in outside ashi. I make space. I can even use my shin. So when he's coming into me, I'll kind of use my shin to make space, put my butterfly hook in. Now I can go for this as many times as I want. Maybe he puts the weight back into me. Just go back to my outside ashi. If he were to stand back up as he puts weight back in, I'm back in my Y guard, getting that second leg, unweighting the leg. It's just a very strong position. I can go to it, and if it doesn't work, I just go back to something else. But when he's on a knee, this is the first thing I look for. I shorten that leg. If I need to shrimp, I can shrimp. If not, I shuck. He goes for that heel hook. I keep that leg short. Butterfly hook comes in. I go right into my finish. Again, we talked about if he starts to rotate. Anytime this foot starts to straighten and rotate his heel, or rotate his laces into the back of my lat, it becomes much harder to finish. That's an opportunity for me to bring him to that belly down position that we talked about before. So this is always available to us when we're outside ashi and our partner is on a knee. I get my hips out however I can. Maybe I shrimp, maybe I just kick away, whatever we're doing. Butterfly hook comes in. It's a very, very simple option. Now we move into our finish. So we're going to cover, if we can't get that hook in, there's going to be times when that does happen, but this is the first thing I look for when my partner's on a knee. So we discussed using the Y guard from when my partner's standing. We can also use it when my partner's on his knees. Specifically, if I can't get the butterfly hook in, because the Y guard is not a finishing position. It's a position for unweighting our partner's leg or getting the second leg So usually I will try the butterfly hook first, but if he's in a good position where I cannot get the butterfly hook in, this is a very strong option, and it's going to put us in a good position to actually finish, but I do have to then adjust my legs afterwards. So from outside ashi, or my partner's on a knee, if he's starting to crowd me a little bit, and this is not uncommon, maybe he's starting to pull this knee across the body, I always do want to be addressing this hand and starting to continuously shorten this leg right here. But if he's pulling that leg across the body, and I feel like I can't get this butterfly, but even if I shrimp, I'm going to be unable to. I'm going to pass this knee to the inside. So when I do this, I take a V grip under his leg. So I shrimp out, I V grip to push the knee up, and then I bring my knee to the inside, and we end up in this wide guard position right here. So I'm still hooking over his hip. Again, if he goes for this inverted, it's just not available. And then my shin is pushing into my own calf. So I'm not so focused about hooking his far leg like when he's standing. This is just to keep him away. When he goes to put his knee on the mat or his foot on the mat right here, he really can't from a kneeling position. He would have to stand up to do it. He could stand up, but then that brings us into controlling the second leg like we did before. So when he's on a knee, I'm going to use this, and I'm going to start to get that foot in that position we talked about. So I use the figure 4, I shuck away, and I get the heel right in my ribs. In this particular situation, I prefer the elbow deep finish because this is so good for unweighting the leg. It gives me a lot of space to get my elbow all the way inside. Now my hand goes close to the ankle. I go on my forearm. In this case, I'm not going to put a butterfly hook in because with the elbow deep finish, I'm not applying as much tension in the knee. I'm just going to lock the leg, lock in this position right here. So see how shallow my leg is? I basically leave it that shallow and I just lock over his back like this. I pinch my knees together, I back heel, and now I'm pulling the foot off the body. And I really do like this grip a lot because it makes it much harder for him to internally rotate his knee. We discussed this a little bit. When I have this shallow grip with the butterfly hook, he can kind of back his butt up into me and internally rotate that knee where I start to lose the angle. Maybe I have to go belly down. There are some follow-ups. But with this very deep grip right here, so I go elbow deep, close to the ankle on the forearm. This is my ideal grip for this. When he goes to internally rotate his knee, it's significantly more difficult. Now, I'm pulling the foot straight back. So hips come in, I'm pulling straight back like this. If I need to, I can, of course, go belly down, and then same finish, pulling the foot straight back. Not to say I can't use the butterfly hook here, but I do feel I prefer this outside finish. So it really allows me to drive my hips in. Because again, the mechanic of this, the mechanic of this is I'm trying to pull the foot like this. This is what I'm doing. So with a butterfly hook, I don't feel I have as much ability to do that. With the outside ashi, I can really clamp his hip down as I pull straight back. So just again, my partner's on the knee. In outside ashi, we're going to this wide guard position. Just when setting this up in general, the more he starts to drive his knee over his foot, the harder it's going to be for me to either put the butterfly hook in or go to this position. So, start to drive into me. I V-grip inside the knee so I can shuck that up. Sometimes I'll even lock like a figure 4 so I can push up with both hands that unweights the leg. Let me go to this position. If here I see him start to hunt that inverted, maybe my heel's exposed. Once this knee comes inside, it's very easy to get a tight bite. Even if he gets a very tight grip, I kick with my right leg and I can shear that off very, very effectively. This does apply with the butterfly hook as well. We did talk about this, shearing it off, but with the wide guard, I find it very easy to get this foot out. So even as I'm setting this up, maybe I leave myself exposed for a second, I can clear that off. I unweight the leg, I get elbow deep. If he goes to drive into me, I can use this to keep the foot off the mat. I lock my legs, and then we finish in that chest up position, or if needed, we rotate belly down. So I do try the butterfly hook first. If it's not available, we pass it inside, go to wide guard, unweight the leg, elbow deep, go into our finish. All right, so we're going to cover briefly when to switch to an Aoki lock. So there's a few situations I can do this in. Personally, I don't like Aoki locks as much as the straight ankle lock. Going back to the reason we discussed initially, because the grip I'm using, the Aoki lock and the placement of the foot is not a position of control. So with the ankle lock, I can stay on the leg a lot longer and put more pressure over time and give myself more chances. The Aoki lock, if you miss it, you kind of, a lot of times will lose it. Not all the time, but a lot of times you'll lose it. So we're going to go over when we want to do this. And the prime opportunity to set up an Aoki lock is when my partner's knee is externally rotated. So when his knee is facing outwards, like this. So for example, if I were to insert a butterfly hook in against Zane and I feel he's rotating his knee inwards, that's not a good opportunity to set up the Aoki lock. It's going to be very hard. But if he's pushing his knee outwards, I can let that leg pop forwards, and now we have this Aoki lock set up. So for finishing, I really do like this leg position probably the most, where I have the foot just stepping right on my chest. I'm trying to go elbow deep with this hand, and my second hand, I just cup underneath like this. So when we're finishing this, we have the lift on our partner's heel in the combination with that butterfly hook, and we're getting that inverted heel hook effect with the Aoki lock. So usually when I get it, it's time for my partner will externally rotate that knee, and we go into our finish right here. So if we're in our outside ashi, I'm shortening that leg. If I need to shrimp, I can. Maybe I'm trying to go to wide guard position. He starts to externally rotate that knee, whether it's butterfly hook or wide guard. Wide guard specifically, because I have my knee inside, if he goes to turn his knee down, he's running into my knee. It's a little bit more difficult. So sometimes guys will externally rotate that knee. It allows me to get the leg in this position. And I need this pressure with my butterfly hook. If I don't have this, Zane can simply fall to his right hip and then free his knee through this space. Rodeo. You can free his knee through this space, go all the way to your hip, high leg over. I'm going to show you guys. So there's no counter pressure on the knee. Just over here. So if I'm in an Aoki lock and there's no counter pressure on the knee, I can fall this direction and high leg over. There's not really any risk for anything. It's like a heel hook with no leg control. That's why it's imperative when you guys are doing the Aoki lock, there's this butterfly hook on the inside. So when Zane applies pressure into me, I go to rotate my knee outwards. It's going to be difficult for me. So, going back again. When I see that knee externally rotate, we're going for it. I don't find it as common in a butterfly hook. I find it very common in the wide guard position. Because now his knee can't externally rotate. A lot of times he will try to pull his foot out with external rotation. I put my hook in. We have our Aoki lock finish. Just better angle. Knees inside. He rotates that knee because he feels like he can free his knee line. We go to this Aoki lock from that wide arm position. So personally, I don't prefer this as much because there is opportunities for him to escape, I feel, but it is available at times, and you should definitely take advantage of it. All right, so now we're going to touch on dealing with someone who's on a hip or in a seated position. So I personally find this is kind of one of the harder places to straight up just ankle lock someone. This is where we have some like secondary options we can go to, which we're going to cover. But basically, when we're looking at someone who's in a seated position, so we're not so concerned with them putting weight on the foot. We're more concerned with the direction their knee is pointing. So most people, when you put them in an outside ashi position, they will externally rotate their knee. The purpose of this is he's hiding his heel from the heel hook. So when he's on a knee or he's on in a standing position, similar to the ankle lock, the heel hook's not really available. Like I have to find a way to internally rotate his knee to expose his heel hook. So from this position, because he's not driving into me, he's going to turn this knee outwards. If he just left his leg kind of in a neutral position like this, I can start to take a dig on my partner's heel and start to attack the outside heel hook. So most people, when on a hip, they'll turn their knee out, start to come into something along this. So what's really nice about ankle locks on a hip is the position he puts himself in to defend a heel hook puts him in an ankle lock. And the position he puts himself in to defend an ankle lock puts him in a heel hook. So they kind of fit together really well. We're going to go into that in a few more sections. I'm just going to cover the basic ankle lock. So when I do this, I want to achieve the same position we covered before. And when he's on a hip, I really prefer that elbow deep grip. We can't get the same twisting effect that we get when we're in a chest up position with a shallow, hand to wrist versus, hand to deep forearm. So I'm going to prefer the elbow deep grip. I'm grabbing a little bit deeper. So if I start off, maybe I have my Achilles grip. I want to scoot my hips away from it. When I do this, I need to like elongate his leg. So I use this hand on the inside of his knee, and I wedge it against my own leg like this. So he's already turning his knee out for me. Like he's kind of coming into me, turning the knee out. So I push it against my own leg. I scoot away. When I do this, I keep my feet, usually locked. My feet are totally open. There's an opportunity for him to pass my leg to the other side. Now I'm defending at the same time as attacking. So I try to keep my legs locked. I push and I scoot away, just like this. And that allows me to get my bicep all the way flush with his ankle when we do this, or the inside of his ankle. So I'm pushing the knee out, and I'm just scooting away from him. I'm getting bicep deep. Now I just go right to my figure four, where I'm grabbing my forearm. Now when I finish, sometimes I'll put the foot on the hip. I do like that, but in this particular case, because of where his leg is, it's kind of hard for me to get my right foot on the hip because of where my legs were. If it was a little bit deeper, I could easily put the right foot on the hip, and that would be more of the shallow grip with the right foot on the hip. But when I have it bicep deep like this, there's a lot of weight on my right leg. It's very hard for me to get the foot on the hip. So in this case, I'm just going to cross my ankles and back heel, pinching my knees, and I'm not going to fully finish because I hurt saying, but I'm driving my hips in and I'm pulling that foot off the body. But ideally, when I finish, I'm trying to do this. I have a lot of room to do that, and imagine his foot is in there. He's going to be tapping pretty quickly, but that's the movement I'm trying to do. So I turn the knee out, and I scoot away, and I get bicep deep. Grab this figure four, back heeling, and we finish right here. So there are times, and truthfully, I don't feel this is the right reaction. I'm going to show it back up a little bit. But people will do this. They'll try to maybe take your back doing this, and as long as you maintain that Achilles grip, your back should be pretty safe, but they will try to pressure into you. So here, Zane will try to drive his knee to the mat and threaten my back right here, like this. So start to grab like my shoulder. When this happens, I just back heel, I wedge his knee on the mat, and I start to pull the foot off the body like this. So he tries to relieve pressure in this position, even though it's kind of uncomfortable for me. His foot is totally stuck right here. My hips come in, and I pull that foot off the body, and I get a really tight finish doing this. And as we're going to discuss, his reaction should not be to do that. It should be to rotate his knee towards the sky, and that will give us opportunities to switch into other grips as well. So just show it one more time. Man, you guys can see behind me. So I'm starting here. I'm pushing that knee out. I'm going elbow deep. I'm locking that deep figure four. I have my first finish. If he drives into me, he forces me belly down right here. I kind of turn my hips up to the sky, or turn my hips down to the mat and butt up to the sky. Then we finish belly down. So this is our standard belly down option. And against a skilled opponent, I do find this is more difficult to get, but it does. It's going to lend into the other options we're going to be doing, where he then has to rotate his knee in the sky and catch the heel hook, or go into our other belly up finishing options. All right, so we're going to go into from the belly down center, belly down finish, or outside belly down finish, going into an ampute lock. So this presents itself when my partner over rotates their leg, meaning they externally rotate their leg too much, and the heel begins to pop out. So again, starting in that outside position, right here, I'm pushing the knee, I'm sliding down the body. Some people will lift their hips up here to kind of really get that leg out. When this happens, I'm just going to take the hand off the knee, and I free the leg just like this. In this case, I go to an elbow-to-elbow grip. Now I just back heel, I go all the way over my right shoulder, and my left hand is making a fist. I'm lifting the foot up just like this and looking over that shoulder. Sometimes, and we're going to do this slowly, Zane may continue to rotate right here. When he does this, his knee goes to the mat, and I get a ton of power doing this. Just go slow with this one. Now his knee is acting as that wedge, like an inverted heel finish, straight tight. So again, I see the opportunity for this. I'm going to do this. I feel it's hard to force, but I do this. I'm elbow deep. I feel he really lifts the hips up. I let the heel come out just like this. So I'm lifting with my left hand, and I'm punching up over my shoulder. If he starts to rotate, bad idea on his part, but if he does, I just lock my leg. It's almost like a backside 50-50, and I start to apply pressure right here. So this is when my partner really externally rotates the knee, lifts their hips up. This is an overreaction on his part. Not to say nobody does it. He probably shouldn't do it, but if you see that opportunity, sometimes finishing the ankle lock might be a little wonky, but you can just pop that heel through pretty easily and go to the aoki. Again, I don't prefer the aoki as much as the ankle lock, but there's definitely times when our partner reacts in a way that puts us in that position. Specifically, we talk about going belly down, and that heel pops out, or my partner externally rotates their knee when they're on a knee. We have that opportunity for that, or when he's on a hip and he externally rotates, we can go to that aoki lock. All right, so we're going to go over the ankle lock heel hook dilemma. So we talked about this a little bit before. When my partner is defending a heel hook, I externally rotating the knee, plantar flexing their foot. That's a perfect time for me to do an ankle lock or a heel lock, like we discussed. When they defend an ankle lock, they want to start to rotate their knee inwards and turn their leg in this position and almost dorsiflex their foot. And that puts us in a great position to do a heel hook. So this is an important concept. We're not going to cover this that much today because it mostly applies in the way we're going to do it when they're on a hip. But having this in your arsenal is really, really effective. So when he's defending his heel hook, he's hiding his heel, he's rotating that knee. So if I go to catch the heel right now, he's pointing the toes, his knees turn downwards. It's very, very hard for me to catch the heel. There are ways I could do it, but certainly I'm kind of, having to put in a lot more work to do it. It's generally pretty easy for me to go right to this ankle lock position and start to go into my finish. So when I do this, I start to apply this pressure. If Zane sits in this position, I'm going to position to start to finish. So what he's going to do is he's going to rotate his foot back to the ceiling. So he's going to straighten his leg and rotate his knee inwards and try to bring us to this chest up position. So if I maintain the ankle lock, I'm in a position where I'm not going to finish as easily. Although there are certainly ways I can do it, but if I'm trying to apply it in the same fashion where before, it's going to be hard. So when I start to apply pressure, he starts to rotate up. Let's just go back for a second. My hand that's on his shin is going to turn to a grip where I'm pulling his shin across, and my elbow is not really going to move that much. So as he rotates up, I just switch and I take a dig on my partner's heel, and I go right to my heel hook position. And I'm already in my outside ashi, ready to finish. I'm just going to cross my ankles. See how my bicep too is cutting all the way into my hip. So his heel is almost in my bicep, which a lot of people will tell you is incorrect. But when Zane goes the heel slip, right here, it's nearly impossible because this heel is totally wedged in position. Versus if I had the heel on the wrist in this position, it's a lot easier from this slip. Now when I lock my hands, I'm going like wrist to wrist, like I'm forming like a butterfly grip. And I'm just bringing my other forearm right over his shin. Like this. I cross my legs, I back heel. And the mechanics for this, I'm trying to rotate his femur in one direction and his shin the other direction. So I'm taking his heel and I'm making like an upside down, like half circle. As I make like a half circle with my knees, like this. So I'm doing this. That's my mechanic when I'm finished in the heel. So it kind of ends up in a great position when we do it from this ankle lock. So I'm trying to apply pressure. Zane comes in, I just go right to my dig. Just like this, lock my hands, putting pressure, cross my ankles, back heel. Now my knees are going that way, and my upper body is going this way. So when I do this finish, when I combine them, I get extremely tight pressure right on my partner's knee. And this is undoubtedly a stronger lock than an ankle lock. But similar to what we discussed before, if he does roll, slips the knee line, slips the heel, I'm not always in the best position to follow. So off this particular dilemma, I'm starting to attack that ankle lock. I'm sliding away, getting in the right position. Zane is starting to rotate the knee up. Just go right into my dig, catch the heel, and we go into our outside heel hook finish. So having this in your arsenal, I think is extremely effective. It's a really effective movement, again, because when he defends one, he puts himself in the other, and vice versa. Even off of the heel hook. If as I go for the dig, I'm going for the dig, he turns his leg back, we go back 2-hour ankle lock finish, and then we're back from that position. So we can easily go back and forth between the two because the position he puts himself in to defend one puts him in the other. And it's just very important that we understand that. So the ankle lock heel hook dilemma, where my partner is on the hip. All right, so we're going to discuss now kind of combining all these movements together. And going back to the very beginning, we said we can stay in this position for a long period of time and not lose control. So I'm going to kind of demonstrate that, how we can combine these finishes together. So, for example, in what we just did when my partner's on a hip, I'm going to show a few ways we can combine these movements in that position. So, for example, Zane's on a hip. I'm trying to go to my belly down finish. He rotates the knees to the sky. Obviously, we have our heel hook, but now I can move right into my chest up finish right here. If he starts to rotate that knee down to the mat, we go back into our belly down finish. Even if we rotate all the way through, right here, rotate all the way through. He's going to carry me through, but I'm maintaining my grip the whole time, and I can continue to put pressure throughout that entire movement. So it gives me many, many opportunities to potentially finish my partner. Because as we go through these rotations and these movements, as we roll through, I'm maintaining this finishing position with my arms the whole time. So we roll through, maybe we roll all the way through, I'm applying pressure, can't quite finish it, we rotate into the sky, I finish in this position. I go to the outside, I throw my legs in the far hip. I just have many, many opportunities to finish. We can literally roll, keep rolling, keep rolling, keep rolling. We can roll many, many times, and the entire time I can apply pressure throughout this roll. Versus a lot of other leg locks, once my partner rolls 1 or 2 times, things start to loosen up. I start to lose position, and things start to go awry. But in this case, I can maintain a solid grip and keep tension throughout the roll and look for one of those few positions that we'd like to finish it. If we equated that with when he's standing, for example, we go to a Y guard position, off balance, I get the second leg, maybe I off balance him, and I start to turn into my belly down position right here. As I go to finish, maybe he rotates all the way through, I lose the ability to finish, and then we end up in our belly down position we covered before. Maybe he rolls all the way through again, and now I end up in a position where his knees externally rotated, and I can go into my Aoki lock. So this just gives us a strong ability to stay on the leg and put him in a position of danger where he is feeling the threat of a submission for a long period of time. Versus you go for a heel hook, knee line gets out, lose position. With this particular Achilles grip, because that's a big point of control, it's very, very hard for him to move into a position where he can defend effectively.